my dear friend Awale, who is the director of the Bryce project. He'll be talking about what they do. And then after that, we're going to go into the discussions, inshallah. So just give a hand of applause to Awale.
Assalamu alaikum, Jaman, ومرحبتين. أنا also going to confident. I'll now switch on to lady parents as well. The point of the organisation really is to empower young people to live their best lives, but also to encourage the community to network and to go out there and make use of all the opportunities out there. So thank you so much for coming. We have a website. We're very active on social media. I'm sure many of you have come across the great work that we're doing. Hopefully my colleagues will tell you more about this, but there will be a mentoring program that comes out of this, because it's one thing to organise an event for everyone to come together and for no one to see each other in 6 months or a year's time. So what we want to do is to create some sort of consistency where people are constantly engaged and we work together, inshallah, to make the community a better place to live for all of us all. Thank you very much.
So we can start. So what we'll do is I'll let everybody introduce themselves. We'll start with the lovely lady on the side.
Assalamu alaikum everybody. My name is Samira and I've come from Leicester today, and professionally I'm a GP from Leicester, and yeah, I've come to support this amazing career fair.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Hafsa. I work in marketing. I'm a junior brand manager for a fragrance, a bath and body brand called Molton Brown, and so much of my experience is mainly within the beauty industry, but I've worked for various companies as well.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mel. I work in IT, infrastructure engineer, within the NHS. Yeah, I'm just here to talk about my experience working in that industry.
Assalamu alaikum once again. My name is Awale Elmi. I'm the director of Bryce Projects, and we work with young people.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mustafa Tuxier. I work in finance. I'm a charity accountant. I work for two well-renowned NGOs, one being Islamic Relief Worldwide, and the other, which I'm at the moment as a restricted funds officer, is Christian.
Thank you guys. So let's get straight into it. The first question, what do you wish you had known about your position or your field before you started? Yeah? Samira?
I guess the way I'll answer this question is a very convoluted way, because I was very confused. So when I was growing up, I remember everybody telling me that I've always wanted to be a doctor. Apparently I said that as a kid, I can't remember that, but I grew up in Arabta, and I came to the UK knowing that I just wanted to do medicine. But then along the way, there was a huge hiccup. So I applied to medicine, I got in, and then I decided it's not the life for me, because everybody's told me that it's not compatible with the deen. You're a woman, you won't be able to have a life and a family with it. And also, I was really worried about the fact that at that time, there was all these horror stories about junior doctors working 100-hour weeks, which is definitely not something I wanted to do. And I felt like I wasn't going to have a life with it. So what did I do? I rejected medicine when I first had the offer, all those years ago. And I kind of wish, looking back, but qadar Allah, everything happens for a reason, and I'm thankful it happened. But what my advice would have been to myself, if I could tell myself back then, would be, don't rely on what Heblaya said, or Somali said, or somebody said who's definitely not even in the field. Speak to actual doctors in the field, or the people in the field that you want to work in. Do your research, and find people who look like you or have the same aspirations as you, but are actually working in the field, because they will tell you what the real deal is. So for me, I came back into medicine 3 years later after applying and applying and applying again. So alhamdulillah, I'm glad I went back in. So if I was to advise my younger self, I would say do your own research, do a lot of work experience, and don't just find out about the job, find out about how it fits with your lifestyle, your hobbies, your aspirations, because the career is just one aspect of your life. It isn't everything your life is centered around, which is what you think as an 18-year-old. I have to make it in the world of career only. So that would be my advice in a convoluted way.
For me, I would say that I remember years when it came to kind of picking what I wanted to study, and when it came to my career choices and things, you always hear the quote, oh, if you love what you're doing, you're never going to work a day in your life. Honestly, that's not true. That's what I wish I knew when it came to working, because for me, I love my job in the sense that it's a great job, it's quite fun, it's quite varied. However, with that being said, there are days where it's incredibly stressful, you have huge deadlines, loads of customers bothering you, or you just have a lot of pressure, quite a high pressure job at times. And there are times where you don't like the job. So when someone says you'll never work a day in your life if you love what you do, I mean, it makes things a lot easier in that sense if you're passionate about your job. But as long as there's pressure in your job and it's involved in that, I would definitely say it's important to realise that there are days where things are going to get quite tough, and so you just have to be quite pragmatic about it, be able to do time management really well, be able to manage the stress of your job really well. And that's definitely something I wish I knew, because I went into my career being very idealistic about it, that it's going to be glamorous, that it's going to be fun, but it just wasn't true.
In my field, it's quite technical, and you have to know your stuff when you're getting in. And I wish when I was a bit young, before getting into my field or industries, not to be too hard on myself. I assume that everyone is in their role because they know their stuff. And most of the time, people are winging it, let's be honest. We know maybe 40% of what we're doing, and then the rest of the time we're just working hard towards, what we're doing and the role. So that impacted my confidence, and that stopped me from actually applying to a lot of roles that I thought I could do, but because I was like, I don't have the qualifications or the certifications and so on. So that pushed me back. But I feel like if as long as you know what you're doing, and if you trust yourself and you have that confidence, you can do anything. It's all about your determination. And if you have a goal in your mind and you're like, this is what I want to do, and this is the role I want to do, and I know how to get it, just do it. Just go with that confidence, and someone will recognize that, and somebody will like, you know what, this one, she's got potential, and he or she's got potential, I want to invest in her. So make sure to show that determination and confidence. You don't know how far, you could be inspiring someone else who'd be feeling also the same as you. So yeah, don't ever feel, like when everyone throws acronyms at you and they're like, oh, this is what we do, this system is what we do. It's just words. Basically, everyone can learn anything as long as they put their minds to it. So yeah.
I think for me, I've always enjoyed working with people. From my time, being part of the Somali Society at my university, to going back home and living and working there for 6 years. Coming back here to the UK, I've always wanted to kind of work with the Somali community in different capacities. So one thing I would have definitely liked to have done is maybe started this organisation much earlier, because then we would have been on to our 5th or 6th networking event, but alhamdulillah, this is the first one. So there's a lot, a person can learn from experiences. I've had failed businesses, I've gone through quite a lot. Nothing too stressful, but just like the average Somali person. And I think giving back is something that I've always liked, to do. So I think it's really important to be able to encourage young people and also the community, and to engage people who are hard to reach and people who are on the fringes of our society. I think there's a lot of issues within our community, many of which we discuss on a daily basis. I think it's not really ideal to discuss the harrowing, figures around knife crime or the number of women who've been attacked as a result of Islamophobia or anything like that. But at the same time, I think it's really important to be able to engage with the community and to work with the future generations, inshallah.
Just touch on what your sister said about being hard on yourself and thinking it's glamorous. When I graduated, I got my first role through volunteering. The first few months I thought, wow, okay, I'm here, I'm going to make it, I'm just going to work hard. But, I mean, you need to understand that you need to constantly keep learning. And that's one of the things I learned whilst I'm working, that you just got to keep learning what you've got. You're not going to know everything from year 1, year 2, and soon you'll realise that even at, let's say, 6, 7, 8, 10 years experience, you still have things to learn. So one thing I would advise my younger self is that just keep learning, just keep testing yourself out. Don't be afraid of trying out new things, taking on new things. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, guys. So the next question is regarding networking. How important do you think networking is? And I know some of us, when we were starting, some of us older people, when we were younger and studying, we didn't have people to look up to. We didn't have careers fairs, we didn't have role models. Our role models maybe were, I don't know, our parents, right? That's about it. But now, alhamdulillah, you see a lot of people that have been there, done it in different fields that are like really high up. So how do you feel networking, how important is it? And has it helped you from when you were, say, studying to now even? We still do networking now. How's it helped you?
I cannot stress enough how important it is to network. So networking is much broader than a lot of us understand. For me, the idea of networking didn't exist, like you said, when we were younger. For me, at the time when I was looking for Somali doctors, for Muslim doctors, for female doctors, to allow me to understand how medicine is going to fit into my life as a young Muslimah, I struggled. I could not find anybody. So what did I do? I forced my own networking upon myself. I recognize that now. So I used to go to my local university. I lived in Cardiff at the time. So I used to go to the Cardiff University prayer rooms, and I used to hang out there. Even though I was a high school student, I used to hang out there so I can find other Asian or Arab Muslim sisters and ask them about medicine and how they found it and what they understood from it and how it fits in with their life and why they wanted to do it. Because in my heart of hearts, I knew I wanted to do medicine, but I was really worried it was going to take over my life. And for me, that sort of networking really opened my eyes to a lot of misconceptions I had. That for me was the first form of networking I've ever done. Growing up in the UAE, all my high school mates were Adans or Arabs or Asians. I didn't have very many Somalis where I grew up. And then when I came to Cardiff, it was a complete shock to the system because a lot of the Somalis were not ambitious. They were not aspiring towards university, which is a completely different mindset to Somalis who live in Arabia. So I didn't find a lot of role models to speak to. I didn't find a lot of people I could identify with, and a lot of people thought I was insane. Now, fast forward, I understood the importance of networking for the first time when I started my first ever careers fair back in 2017. I thought I was giving back to the community. I thought I was doing everybody a service and helping the kids connect with professionals, and then I realized I probably helped myself more than I did anybody else. Because networking is not just about your ability to sell yourself for business or professional related capacity. It is about making those connections that will one day not only propel you in your career, but develop you as a person. A lot of us get inspired when we hear other people's stories. And it gives us that extra ego boost that you needed to do that business idea or do that hobby idea that you had, or just, dream bigger, push further the envelope and just try and work harder. And I always get that every time I come to these sorts of events or other events that I go to. I find that I learn far more than I give back. And it makes you a well-rounded person. The connections you build is actually, everybody says your network is your net worth. And I genuinely believe that, not just in the professional capacity, but also because it develops you as a person. Talking to people, making those connections. So every time I see a young Somali kid, I always tell them, go and speak to people who are in that field that you want to speak to. And our kids, unfortunately, are too shy or too scared or too intimidated. And they have no idea how much they're missing out on. Sometimes it's not just about, I want to be a doctor. It's just about, how can I become a more compassionate person? How can I become a more well-rounded person in my time management? How can I prioritize my tasks in life? Not everything is about career. And networking and building those human connections and those personal connections is actually what's going to get you there. So network, 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 because that's part of the beauty of life.
It's interesting you asked this question because yesterday I just went out to dinner with my best friend and we were just catching up about life over just eating and talking and catching up, and she was just telling me about a colleague of hers who was quite senior in her company and how he brought over a lot of his former colleagues who are Australian, him being Australian as well, so he was bringing over colleagues from his previous company, and it just stresses that networking cannot be underestimated. It's incredibly important that you have a network and that you don't just meet someone, but you actually maintain that relationship over time. So when it comes to a festivity, you say hello, you catch up with them, every now and then you say, do you want to go out for a coffee? Just kind of maintaining that relationship, so when it comes to an opportunity, you're on the top of their mind as well. So for me, that stood out to me because it's something that I've seen as well, and I think it's, with us all being Somali here, we're not a people that have been in this country for generations and generations. We haven't built those networks that you see other people having in this country. In my office, for example, or in my previous experiences, I've personally found that you'll have people with colleagues that they've worked at a previous company, and why is that? It's because they had that network previously. Or I remember in a previous job of mine, a colleague of mine had spoken to someone, she didn't know them at the company, but she was like, yeah, my mum, this, that and the other. It's because they've had parents who've had those networks for generations. We don't have that. And so it's for us now to build those networks within our people. Even if you don't actually, I mean, I work in marketing, I don't have any business in science, but if I meet someone who works in science, I can consider that because I might have a relative who's interested in going into research or becoming a doctor or so on. So wherever we have an opportunity to network, we need to basically take advantage of it because no one's going to hand you an opportunity. When I graduated, I got myself a graduate scheme and then it came to an end, so my contract had ended and there wasn't headcount to basically renew my contract or to place me within the company. But those networks that I built in that company, they really helped me to find a job. My manager was really apologetic about the fact that I couldn't get a job there, but she really helped me. She helped me sculpt my CV, she helped me build my experience in terms of interviewing. She asked me questions that I never would have considered, and that's because of that network, and she'd had experience and she knew the people, funnily enough, who were interviewing me. And I've maintained that relationship with her. I've maintained the relationships that I've built over previous internships as well. They give you valuable skills, and I think in terms of having someone in your, who has your back, I think it's crucial, especially as young Somalis who are ethnic minorities. No one will give you an opportunity, and I think it's quite sad that we work in a society that's not a meritocratic society. We work in a society that's built on network. So any opportunity that you have, ensure that that you take full advantage of it. I've been given so many opportunities based on the fact that I've had someone who considered me, some people who've reached out to me, who've headhunted me, who've said to me, I've heard about you because of someone, or XYZ, because they've told me that you were good at this, or we're interested in you consulting for this because this person reached out to me about you. I think, honestly, I cannot underestimate enough the fact that for me, when it came to really struggling to find a job, the people that helped me find a job were those people that I've maintained those relationships with. So do not play around with this. I would say, honestly, today we're all here, we've all got careers in loads of different industries. Make sure that you're taking full advantage to speak to everybody today because you don't know what it could mean tomorrow, honestly.
I definitely agree with what both sisters have been saying. Networking as much as possible, because especially if you're like the only person in your company, or you're just say you being black, Muslim and a female in IT, I didn't see people like me most of the time. And I'll be honest, when people would come over to me, they would almost question my credibility on whether I knew my stuff. And that experience is unique to me. But if I knew there was someone else who was also Muslim, Somali, black, female, also in that environment, then she could have given me, as she has years of experience, she could have given me a heads up. And a lot of the times, networking, especially in the Somali community, I've seen a lot of communities where they focus on their own. They will make sure they can fast track the people they know into their companies and their jobs. And for us, I wish there was more of that, that we could do that as well, because that would mean someone who could be just like me, who I didn't have enough information. I don't know nothing about the IT field and so on when I was that age, and someone else who knew it, and they could be like, you know what, I know you're determined, and I want someone like you to also be in the company, so it could be more of us. Because you really want to build your community together, for us to work together so that we can be better, and have all those jobs that we wish that, you know, if that role model, and, you know, working in IT medicine and so on. So we're bettering not just ourselves, but for someone else. So we're giving back. You network, and then you do the same to someone else. And you build so much skills, and like the other sisters were saying, you get inspired, you know, you feel like, oh, you know, I've learned so much. It's not just happen to be exclusively in your field, it could be someone else, and they have to be like, you know what, I want someone like you in my company as well. And you being Somali is a bit biased, but you do want to bring them in as well to help each other. That's what we want. So yeah, networking is key, and I wish I knew that a lot earlier. But now we're here, we're going to have to do the same for everyone else. So yeah.
And networking is, obviously, can't be stated enough. It's probably the most important thing there is. I think from the Somali point of view, I think we need to be able to look at networking maybe slightly differently than it's usually looked at. So within the Somali community, I don't really, there might be, I don't want to speak for everyone, but there might not necessarily be opportunities where people network internally. A lot of the times people might be looking towards progression in their careers or networking with other, for example, non-Somalis. So I think one thing that we've been trying to do as an organisation is obviously organising events like these, but also trying to instill a level of young people being able to network amongst each other. Doing early intervention in the schools has definitely helped. Working with year 7 and year 8, year-old, 13-year-old students is really good, because when you go there, you're able to kind of instill a sense of confidence in them. A lot of them might be going through identity issues, for example. So going in early, speaking to them, engaging with them, I think all those things make a big difference. Personally, I'm not the person who networks the most. I think people are different, obviously. But I would like to think of myself as being someone who networks strategically. So for example, if I'm like networking within Haringey Council, where no Somali person works, by the way, I would network with the person who's at the very highest, or the borough commander, for example. Because if you work with a PC or someone who's a policy officer, chances are they will like to keep you in, they would like to keep you for themselves and things like that. I'll explain it in a different time. But what I'm trying to say is, networking at the very highest level, the worst that can happen is if you meet someone who's a deputy or someone who's very senior, so then that gives you the opportunity to be heard. So I think those are things that we need to do. And also just, I think it's really important to access lots of courses online, and also to go to events, whether it's on Eventbrite or I think there's an app called Meetup, and all these different things that are going on every weekend. So I think other than just waiting for an event to happen or something like that, I think it's really important to go out there and to seek opportunities, because they won't come to you just sitting there, I think.
Yeah, networking for me, to be honest with you, I'm not a natural networker. I'm like most people, I tend to shy away, I'm a bit reserved as well. But I mean, over the last few years, I've understood how valuable networking is. I've met so many wonderful individuals who, through just a conversation, have been able to learn just like a simple sentence that's just stuck in my mind. But yeah, there's one thing with networking, to gain the connections where a couple of years down the line there might be an opportunity, but there's also, from my personal perspective, there's also networking to find yourself a mentor, to find yourself those trusted advisors that at a point where you don't really know or you're unsure where you're going, you call them up, ask them for coffee, and then just speak to them, tell them about your situation, and then ask them for advice, and then they'll advise you. But yeah, for me, when I graduated the first time around, this was in 2014, we didn't have LinkedIn up. It was at the early stages, and I didn't really know anyone that was up there that could advise me. So So yeah, but for me, like networking, past couple of years have been absolutely fantastic. I've learned so many new things that I did not know, and also at the same time, I think it's sort of fact of giving back as well. Now that I'm at a certain stage, to help guys who, even if they're shy, just to approach them and say, look, this is how you do it. Just start a conversation. Well, yeah, networking, like when you said, don't underestimate it. It's very, very important, and yeah, you'll gain a lot from it.
Thank you, guys. So the next question: which quality do you think is the most important? That you would say within your fields? I know you guys work in different fields: marketing, healthcare, IT, finance. Which qualities do you think is the most important for progress, both educationally and professionally?
I think for me, it's the same for professionally and educationally. And the two most important things that I've learned throughout my time in school and in the community and my career as a GP is the two most important things. There are many, but for me, the two most important things is the curiosity to learn. You must never, ever want to stop learning. And I remember in medical school thinking, when is this going to end? I'm sick and tired of these books. I'm sick and tired of revising. And now, I've graduated back in 2012. Looking back, I remember thinking it's actually some of the best years of my life. I really enjoyed medical school. Yes, it had its ups and downs, but I realized I actually enjoy learning. Yes, I'm not a bookworm. I'm not into books day and night. But learning can take all kinds of forms, not just reading. It's what you learn from individuals, conversations. It's what you learn on the job. It's what you learn from certain, even documentaries you see on TV. What you learn even through social media. It's surprising how much I learned through social media, actually. From people I've connected with from all over the world. I'm yet to meet, but we're very good friends. So curiosity to learn should never end, because the day you stop learning, you stop growing. The day you stop growing and progressing, you're not living. That's number one. For me, number two, most important thing is do not shy away from constructive criticism. Yes, some people will criticize you and it will feel like it's below the belt. But you have to understand, this is not about your ego or your pride. If you let your ego and your pride take over, you've already lost the game before you started. You have to understand, no matter how that person packaged it, there is something that they've seen that clearly they're displeased about. There's going to be haters, of course. But you have to be able to suss out, who's telling me A, B, C, and D is what you suck at, or you did this terribly, or I would have done that differently. It initially stings. It will sting me as well. I'm no Mother Teresa myself. But you have to look back and think to yourself, yes, this person might not have packaged it in the nicest way, may have not told me the nicest things, but clearly he sees something that needs fixing. So you have to be able to reflect back on constructive and destructive criticism, all forms of criticism, and understand that it's your opportunity for somebody telling you you could do better. We have no idea how we're doing things. So in our medical field, it's become second nature for me. It was forced upon us, but now it's second nature to me to constantly ask for feedback. I have to do this portfolio every single year to maintain my license as a GP. We call it revalidation. And part of that is not how much have you learned, it's actually getting feedback from every single team member in the GP surgery I work at, from the nurses to the cleaners, to the admin staff, to the managers, to the other doctors. Because that's the only way you will know what you're good at, what you're not good at, and what you actually suck at and you think you're doing brilliantly at. And that's the only way you're going to progress. So develop a thick skin, and I think as Somalis we tend to just jump on the defense. Get off the defense. Even the person who is telling you the worst things is actually probably doing you a huge favor, and learn from it. So that's my two biggest advice.
I'm going to struggle to pick one, so I'll pick two, if that's okay. My first, I would say, is creativity. So working in marketing, creativity is pretty crucial in the sense that you're required to find ways to basically push a product or push a launch. So in terms of what I do day to day, my responsibility is to push out a new product launch or collection, and I'm responsible for basically ensuring that people are going to buy that collection that we're just launching. And so for me, I'm tasked with how are we actually going to do this? So how do we engage with our consumers? So for me, I have to literally think of random things. It might be for a Christmas collection, I'm going to think of gift tags that we're going to put on bags, or for Chinese New Year, what we're going to do is we're going to put illustrations on a gift box, or we're going to create ribbons that are just bespokely created by an artist or something like that. And honestly, nothing is a bad idea. I mean, you can have bad ideas, but as long as you're creative, no one can basically shun you or put you down or anything. So for me, I would definitely say if you're considering a career in marketing, not even just marketing, but anything that I would say is very consumer facing, whether that's a business consumer or actually the day-to-day consumer, creativity is absolutely crucial. I don't think that creativity is something that's innate necessarily. It's something that can be trained. So as long as you have curiosity, as long as you have an eye for things like color or design, or you have the consumer at the back of your mind, creativity is definitely important. And then the second thing I would say is probably passion as well, in the sense that passion is incredibly important for not even just my particular career, but any career. Especially if you're waking up very early in the morning, that you're very disciplined about keeping to a time schedule, being able to go through day-to-day tasks as well, some of the tasks that can be quite mundane. I would say as long as you have the passion for the particular career that you have, and then you think, okay, this particular task might be quite boring today, but I have the end goal in mind. I have the end of the collection going to launch finally, so it takes months to prepare for.
You would have like a bunch of candidates and they all know the same stuff as you, but the soft skills is pretty much what the elder sisters are saying, is whether you are determined, you are someone who's willing to learn, and you're not afraid to ask questions. And that is really, really an important thing to be to have, because when I first started, I assumed that everyone should know what they're doing and they should be technically aware. But once you start asking questions, you'll start learning and you start knowing everything that you thought that would fill in the gaps. So soft skills, basically determination and curiosity to learn, and not being afraid to ask questions, because you can be technically aware, but it's the person, whether they're willing to invest in you versus that person who knows everything but they're not willing to learn, they're not willing to develop themselves. So you have to be really determined. That's what I think. So yeah, the determination and just always asking questions.
I think for me, I think teamwork is very important. I think you have to be able to work with people and understand that people have different ways of working with them. So I think it's really important to be able to build a good rapport, an understanding of your colleagues and the people that you work with, and understand some aspects of people's nature and their motivations and things like that. I think it's really important to be able to understand people. The other thing I think is really important is being organised, and unless you're organised, you can't really do much. I think being able to send emails on time, basic things like attending meetings, going to your meetings 10 minutes early, for example, not being late. These are things we often take for granted, but I think without those traits, I think we really will find things will become difficult. So those are my two characteristics.
For me, there's many to be honest with you. But one I would stress is the right attitude. Coming in every day with the right attitude. I mean, we all work and we all know some days it's just kind of hard to pick yourself up, but just putting that in your mind and just get on with the work, focus on it, don't ever let yourself down. Another thing is, don't ever be afraid to try new things, and that kind of links in with learning. Always try and push yourself, but don't ever be in a position where you're comfortable, because once you're comfortable, you're going to stop learning. So always try and push yourself, always try and pick up things that you don't quite know, and just try and figure out what those things are, and try it. So yeah, those are the two things: attitude and trying out new things, and not being afraid.
Thank you guys. What we'll do is we'll give an opportunity for you guys to ask questions. If anybody has a question or wants to ask a question, you can either come here and ask them, or you can just stand up and just say, I've got a question, and this is my question. So, anybody has a question? Exactly. Anybody?
How do you guys stay accountable for your goals? I'm sure you guys have goals professionally. How do you guys have your goals? So how do you hold yourself accountable to your goals? I'm sure you've got goals professionally and outside of work. So how do you actually tell yourself, you know what, by this month, I'm going to make sure I do this? Is there a system that you use, or is there something that, do you use something?
So setting goals and then following.
So I used to think I'm quite good at that, doing that myself. For me, the best way to hold me accountable is to stress me out with a deadline. But obviously those days are gone, so I have to be more accountable of my goals as time goes on. Alhamdulillah, for me, naturally it fell into two things. I've realized with time, like our brother said, that having a mentor is one of the most important things. And I've got mentorship relationships where I am benefiting with a few people. Some of them are my friends, and a couple of them in work professionally is the senior GP that I work with, who I quite admire, and it's the type of GP I want to become. So professionally, he's my mentor. But then me and my friends have this funny thing which we call accountability meetings. It's partly gossip, partly accountability. So we meet up in London or Birmingham or Cardiff or Manchester, wherever we fancy that day, every few months, every 3 months actually, because we all live in different cities. And we just talk about our goals. What did you do so far? Last three months ago, you said you wanted to do a personal development event. How's that going on? Why are you so scared? What stopped you from doing it? Oh, I'm busy, I'm fearful people won't buy tickets or whatever. And then the other two would support the other girl and say to her, you know, we've had the same issues, how can we help you? Let's push this through, this is your goal, this is your agenda, is there anything else we can help you with? Actually, all of this fear is in your mind. You know, give each other these boost-ups and these inspirations and that little push, as well as physical help in helping them to reach their goals. So we call it accountability meetings, and it's the weirdest thing ever, but it turned out to be actually one of the biggest blessings, because that's how we hold each other accountable. Because they don't let me slip up. So if I said I'm going to go to the gym and lose that much weight, I better make sure in 3 months' time I gotta get it done. So that's a great way of doing things, personally and professionally, I think.
I'm huge on goals in the sense that I always set goals in terms of yearly, monthly, weekly, daily. So I break them down. So when it comes to my yearly plans, when it comes towards the end of the year, I look at the year that's just gone or is about to come to a close, and I look at my kind of achievements for that year and also what I had in mind, and if I didn't achieve it, why did I not achieve it? And I hold myself to account in that sense that perhaps I didn't get to save X amount of money because I needed to pay for a huge expense or something like that. So for me then, what I'll do is in that case, set my goals for the year, and then I actually put it onto a board. It sounds like really, so it sounds really weird, but basically what I do is I cut everything into like words, or I write huge gold writing or black writing or whatever. I'm a very visual person. So what I'll do is I'll cut out newsletters and newspapers and things like that and magazines. And then my plan for this year was to get promoted. So I wrote promotion, I put money, I put pound signs, yen, dollar, whatever. And I achieved it because I had that every morning. I would look at that, thank you. I'd look at that, thank you. So I would basically look at that. I have it basically sitting on my dresser, and I know I have to get promotion. I have other plans as well, so I basically put, I want to explore the country more, not even necessarily professionally, but I want to explore the UK. I don't really travel much around the UK. I put that on my vision board. I want to do this, I want to decorate my flat. I'll do basically all of that, and I have that in mind. It's a constant reminder when I'm getting changed, when I'm in my bedroom, when I'm just walking into my bedroom, I actually see that, and it's basically put that into context for me, and it's basically holding me to account, because when it came to June, which is half of the year, I looked at some of my goals and I thought, oh, I actually haven't even scratched the surface yet. Why have I not scratched the surface yet? Is it perhaps because I'm scared, or I'm a bit anxious to basically get started with the small step that eventually would basically get the ball rolling? And then when it comes to my weekly plans, that's more professional. So basically I put together a matrix of basically how I'm going to prioritize my tasks at work. So I do urgent and important. So when it comes to urgent and important tasks, I'm going to get that done on Monday. So that's the hardest task of what I need to get done. So if it's urgent, I need to follow up with someone on a task that I'm basically being pushed for. I will have to speak to that person that morning. When I come in at 9 o'clock, that's what I'm going to get done. Then I've broken it down to not urgent, but it's important. So I don't want it to get to a point where it's urgent, so I'm going to still maintain, along with my urgent tasks, I'm going to maintain the workload, I'm going to continue working at it. Then there are things where it's urgent but it's not important to me, so you can delegate it to someone if you have the ability to be able to delegate it to someone, if you have someone who's a direct report who would go and do that. And then if it's not important and it's not urgent, it's something that's nice to do. So those are things that I can perhaps get done in the week if perhaps I have the time, if I've been able to get through my tasks for the week. And then when it comes to daily tasks, when it kind of goes towards 5 o'clock, I put together a to-do list for the next day. And so the tasks that are urgent, I'll put as like super number one priority, I'll put asterisks on it. And then I'll put together all of the tasks that I have to get done for that day, and I tick it all off. So that's kind of how I break it down. I wasn't like that in terms of goals before, but I realized as my job became a lot more demanding, and also the more I stayed late in the office, and I realized actually it's taking a lot of my time, it's eating into my personal life now. I realized that time management and goal making was incredibly important, because what it does is it puts things into context for you, rather than being an abstract goal you have in mind. It's going to hold you to account, whether it's a list, whether it's a vision board, whether it's a spreadsheet, any way that you can set goals, I would definitely say do it, because from there, every time you get to look at it, you remember, oh, I need to actually work towards that goal. Otherwise, you're just going to continue wishing and hoping and saying to people, I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to get promoted, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to travel here. It's not going to really happen much, and it's not really going to hold you to account if you're not doing any goalkeeping or any way of being able to put things into writing. Yeah.
For me, I'm not gonna lie, I used to procrastinate a lot. But I came to a point where I think it was like a few months ago, where I started writing the goals that I wanted, and instead of procrastinating, I just started making action. So if it was a course that I wanted to do, I'll be like, oh, I might not have the money for it, or I might not have the time, because I'm constantly thinking of all the problems that might happen. I just was like, you know what, I'm gonna pay for that course, and whatever happens, I'll deal with it then. So that was my way of like reaching my goals. Once I started putting action to it, I can't get away from it. So if that course that I wanted to go, I'm already set to go on it, regardless of whether I had that money or I don't have that time. And for work-wise, what I do is I literally write down the list of what I need to do. So for that day, I'd write a list, and each time I'll say, what's the time scale for it, and whether it's a high priority or not. And if it's something that's low priority, I'll be like, okay, that I could do for next day. So with that list, I'll see if it's something that could be doable as well for a day. If it's something that I've got enough time for me to do. And each time I'm doing that, the work, that I've ticked the list. So that way I'm done for the day. So that's my way of, holding myself accountable to those goals. So it's basically a better way of managing yourself and organising yourself without someone to come back to you and say, oh, Amel, you haven't done this task and that task. So yeah, that is the way I manage my goals. Yeah.
I've got several mentors, some of whom I learned through a course I did last year. So I meet them on a quarterly basis and speak to them about all the different things I've been doing. On a professional level, we have a board as an organisation, and very often we meet up, have management meetings, but also we have a quarterly meeting as well where I seek the advice of our board and speak to them about the latest things that have been going on within the organisation. And also some of the things I've been learning through the courses I've been doing is like sending like a scheduled email. So again, I do this every quarter, which I would write quite a lot of information on the email, and then you realise 3 or 4 months down the line, a lot of things have happened, and a lot of the things that you might have been concerned about weren't necessarily very important. So I think it's about being reflective and keeping things in perspective. And I think it's really important to do things like that, and to be accountable to yourself, but also to the community as well.
So in terms of goal setting, I set 2 separate goals professionally and goals personally. I've got them both in 2 different notepads. In terms of professionally, that's sort of work related and everything, so that's something I'll take away with me to work every single day, put my tasks in on the day, and what I do is the most urgent task, I focus on that movement every single morning. But also I get a joy of kind of crossing things as I go along during the day. So I know that once I look at my notepad for that day, everything's crossed out. Okay, if things can be moved to the next day, I'll move it if it's not that urgent, and start off like that. But yeah, for me, it's more to do with scheduling the time during the week, whether it's in the weekend or during the weekday, where I focus on my personal goals and I really reflect upon, okay, what am I doing here? What do I need to do? When do I need to do it? And I've already set yearly goals in mind, so I know that I'm kind of working towards that. And towards the end of the year, it's something that I've done recently. Alhamdulillah, I'm working towards my goal on progress. So yeah, that's something I'm getting used to. But alhamdulillah, it's something that really helps things and really puts things into perspective. So yeah.
Assalamu alaikum everybody, can you guys all hear me? Brilliant. So I'm Fatima, I'm a teacher and I started working with Rise a few months ago. So initially started off with the Sister Circle and then I had an idea and I just spoke to Awala about it and here we are tonight. So yeah, it's great. So back in 2017, Dr. Samira set up the Careers Fair and I've been to a few of her Careers Fair and when I leave those Careers Fairs, I feel really, really motivated. I feel like I want to accomplish the stars, beyond, the universe, everything. But 2 weeks later on, I don't hold myself accountable. I don't know those ideas that I had. I feel really, really confused and my motivation dips. So my idea for this mentoring scheme was to bridge that gap. So to allow for Somali professionals and those graduates and those who are starting out in their careers to connect on a more personal level, for professionals to give up an hour of their time between September and March to help Somalis who are in university, Somalis who don't know what they want to do yet, to help students and to just support them. Because that's not something we have. Most of us, our parents came here, 20, 30 years ago, and we don't have those connections. And one thing I've realised in my place of work, so I'm going to talk about my personal story. So I went through the educational system fine. My uncles who are here, my family who are here can vouch for that. I always seemed very confident. I went into university, I got my results, I went into teaching straight after, and then I became complacent. I became comfortable with my position. And I thought, yeah, I can do this for the next 30, 40 years, whenever retirement is, I can do it. And I didn't seek out any opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities, and especially when you work in a school, there are always more middle positions, senior positions, and I didn't even think that I could apply to them. And my line manager, who's actually here this evening, who's brilliant, beautiful on the inside and out, round of applause for her, please. She actually came up to me one day and said, why haven't you applied for this position? And I said to her, oh, it's not for me, I'm not going to apply for this. And she sat down with me, and we wrote down that application, and we wrote down that cover letter, and I sent it off. And I got interviewed, and she gave me a mock interview before that, and she gave me every single situation that can come up, and I hadn't even thought about those questions. They're not things that came into my head. And I went into that interview and I was offered the job on the spot, 5 minutes afterwards. The care just didn't end there. She checks in with me on a personal level, she checks in with me on a professional level, she holds me accountable when I don't do my deadlines, and I hold her accountable when she doesn't do my deadlines for me, because now I have a position. And it's been great. It's been hard. We've spent so many evenings together. We've spent so many hours on the phone just talking about our ideas, and she listens to me. I wouldn't have gone for that position if it wasn't for her. I wouldn't have even thought that I was qualified enough. And already I'm thinking about my next position. I might need you soon. But it put a fire, it ignited a fire in me. And this was because of one person who thought, you know what, Pam can do this. Like, you know, maybe I thought deep down I could do it, but I didn't think I would be considered. You know, I had the grades, I had the qualification, I had enough experience. I've been teaching for a while now, but I didn't have it in me. I just thought I'm just another person on a list. Why is someone going to look at my application? And I wanted to bridge that gap. My idea is to not just help those that have grades. I want to help people, I want to help mothers, I want to help those who have gone into maternity who are not feeling ambitious. I want to help those who are confused about their careers or believe that they've done the wrong degree. Because there are so many options available to you and there are so many people that can help you. Every single person here tonight knows someone, okay, who can help you. Most of the people who have come here tonight, actually, are people that I know personally. People that my family know personally, and every single person who's shown up, thank you. Thank you for sharing your time. And thank you for signing up to our mentor scheme. So the idea is, I'm gonna get all your details, professionals, graduates, and then you've got an application form, so you've filled in basic details, and I'm gonna match you up. So I want to match up graduates with people that might not necessarily be in the same field, but something similar, okay? And then from there, the mentees can contact the mentor, all right? And then they can say, can I meet you? When are you available? Because I don't think the mentee, I think the mentee actually has a lot more free time than the mentor, okay? And I want that accountability to be on the mentee. So you arrange your meetup. Once you've done your meetup, it's up to you whether you want to do it, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, coffee, whatever, I don't mind. But you need to fill out a form at the end, and you're going to action everything, because this is where accountability comes in. Because yeah, you might become friends, you might develop a personal relationship, but this person needs to help you. This person needs to help you progress, okay? And we're going to action that, and we're going to have that from September all the way through to March, okay? Inshallah. And then from there, we hope that you get into a better position. We hope that you apply for the next position that is available to you internally or externally. We hope that you become more sure in whatever it is you want to do, and we want you to become confident, okay? Because I think being comfortable is something a lot of us seek. But I've recently learned that being uncomfortable is what we should actually be working towards, because then you will push forward and you'll be able to achieve your dreams, okay? The last thing that I wanted to add was thank you. Thank you to the amazing panelists who have all come in and shared their expertise. Thank you to Adnan who chaired this for us. Thank you. And thank you to all of you for giving your time out, for coming in, for showing up. And to those of you who haven't completed an application form, please do today, okay? Give it back to us, and I can use my summer holiday to actually match you up with some awesome people. Thank you.
I want to thank all of you for turning out today. And we also have to remember, apart from all the good work, all the things that we have to do, this year alone 13 Somali young people died. We're not even halfway throughout the year, and 13 Somali young lives have just been, they've now beneath us. Inshallah, but what we have to say is, we need to now make the move so that we can make sure that no more young Somali people die. We need to make sure that we do the mentoring. Like 6 months ago, me and Awala started going into the schools where we mentor young people face to face, where we gather them in a class, and then we literally mentor them on things like confidence building and all the things that the panelists talk about in terms of confidence building and all of that is exactly what we see. Adnan also mentioned about in terms of the boys, the fact that they're always followers, and what we notice, the patterns always keep repeating itself. I mean, all we notice is gang violence and all of those media perceptions already, getting onto the mind of the young people. I mean, we need to do more to make sure that they are going to the right path. We need to do more to do networking, and I begin to sometimes struggle to understand why so many young people that have been here for like 15, 16 years, and all of a sudden you begin to see them not understand the Somali, and then they say they're Somali, and then it gets weird, because then, I don't speak Somali. But then you see an Indian girl that's been here her dad has been born here, her dad's dad has been born here, she's probably 4th generation, and she still speaks Bengali. Are we afraid of our language? What is the case? I mean, we need to do more in that ground. I can see one parent turn out today that also speaks otherwise in terms of we need to make sure that Somali parents come to the forefront, and in terms of, okay, 2 3s. It's still not major, it's still not enough. So in terms of, all of us giving the time like the panelists did, like Faduma, who organized this event from the start, Saeed, who's at the back, where's Saeed? I mean, sometimes you never see the real people that organize things. There's Awale, there's Yonis. I mean, a lot of effort has been put in. There's a lot of you that also put your time and effort to come in here, and it's been really worthwhile. I want to make sure that we continue doing this. I want to make sure that we move from where we are to where we want to be. We want to see more doctors. We don't want to just see one Somali doctor in front of all of us. We want to see 15 Somali doctors with her. Okay. Not just doctors. What I'm saying is, in every field we want to see more. Like right here, right now we have one Somali doctor in a field of like a lot of people. So we want to, in every field we want to see more people of that. So in terms of like my understanding, we need to do more networking thing. We need to work together. We need to work together, and we need to move from where we are to a progressive community. Like in terms of this, I live in Haringey, there's 57 councillors, not one single Somali councillor. I mean, we're beginning to see one or two few councillors around London in terms of Tower Hamlet. But here in Haringey, we really need to work hard and make sure we put one Somali councillor in there. Lastly, I want to thank all of you guys for the high turnout. It's been a great day. The panelists, you've been really wonderful today. You've been outspoken, you've touched the points. Adnan, what a chairperson, you really chaired this really well. Faduma, your effort, Khadha, I mean, you're done fantastic work, guys. Thank you very much for the high turnout. I wish to see all of you.
So with that, we are ending this amazing event. So I would like to thank everybody again. Inshallah, we will see you guys. There's some food, some drinks, help yourselves. We've got 35 minutes before we're going to get kicked out, so, you know, yes. Yes, fill out the forms please guys. Thank you guys.